From the author of Spinsterella, A Strange and Unusual Romance comes Spellbound, a darker shade of black. Get Spellbound this Halloween in paperback and ebook at online booksellers everywhere. America is in a state of decline. Unfortunately, most of the American people do not understand the state of their union. And when it comes down to America, what makes this state of decline really sad is not just that these Americans don't know how bad their situation is. What makes it really bad is that most Americans don't care about how bad their situation is. Now, the United States of America has one of the most educated populations in the history of the country. We have more people in America with college degrees than any other time. Unfortunately, most people are too busy feeling instead of thinking about the state of their union. Because when you think about the state of this union, it truly is a sad state of affairs. Again, we have the most educated population in the history of the country, the most population with the most college degrees in the world. Yet, we have our Americans these days pretty much having to choose between Donald Trump, a failed businessman, and Hillary Clinton, a crooked politician. And the sad part is, most of these Americans don't look at their own Constitution and the first three words of it, which say, "We the people," and that we the people need to start taking responsibility for our own country, because this state of decline is because we the people refuse to take that long, hard look at our country, the direction it's going in, and try to change course. Unfortunately, most Americans are too busy, even though they're the most educated people in the world, feeling instead of thinking. And that's one of the big problems with Americans these days. They mistake emotion for thought. And there's a big difference between emotion and thought. Feeling is one thing, but thinking means you have to break those feelings, pull those feelings away, and start thinking about what's behind those feelings. And sadly, most Americans do not think anymore. If they thought, they would say to themselves, our Constitution says we the people, we don't have to choose between a Democrat or a Republican. We can choose anybody to be our president and represent us, because when you look at who's representing America right now, it's an embarrassment. We have a Congress of people who cannot get any legislation passed to help we the people in one of the most dire economic situations. We have a presidential race that we the people are trying to choose between two of the lesser of two evils, instead of saying, let's look at some of these independent candidates and their platforms. And the sad part is that a lot of we the people don't do a lot of thinking. We do a lot of feeling. We allow people like Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton to polarize us instead of thinking about the state of our country, because the state of our country has been a decline. And you can clearly see the state of decline if you look at the economics. I mean, I look at things like your retail these days. The entire retail business market is collapsing right in front of us, yet most Americans are not paying that any attention. I mean, I've gone down Fifth Avenue here in New York, and the entire place is literally a ghost town of for rent signs. And even certain parts of the Bronx are turning into a ghost town of for rent signs. And that's an indicator, because it directly connects to the economy, because a lot of people were going to retail to find work because they couldn't find jobs in any other area. And if that area is declining, that means that your job market is declining, and that the U.S. economy, as it stands, is getting ready to really start another recession. But most people are so polarized and so caught up in Trump and Clinton that they can't see the state of their own economy and how it's in decline. And that's really sad, again, because we have the most educated people in this country. We have the largest group of educated people with college degrees, yet they can't connect the dots about their economy, their culture, and their art and their literature. They can't see the whole culture in an overall perspective. Because when I look at American culture, it's in the worst state that it's in. And the sad part is, no one is taking that long, hard look at America and looking at this situation overall and seeing how bad a state this country is in, how directionless it is, how lost it is. Because I look at your America right now, and it's in a really, really bad state. It's not in a functioning state. I mean, you would think 8 years after a recession, of a so-called recession, which really was a depression, the economy would be picking up. It's not picking up. and we're seeing retail start to decline. Because now, the sad part is that was one of the last areas that we had in American business that was still somewhat functioning, but now that's starting to decline. And everyone is just completely clueless to the state of their own country. They're completely clueless to how bad it is in America, and that no one is paying any attention to anything. They're too busy, you know, caught up in their emotions to look at the logical picture regarding the state of America. And because they're so caught up in their emotions, they're feeling about things instead of saying, look, we need to do something about this. We need to start establishing some sort of standards for things. We need to set a course for things. And we need leadership to set a direction for where they want to go. But most Americans, again, are so caught up in feeling and so caught up in what they feel that they can't think about the condition that their country is in. And when you think about the condition that the country is in, again, that it's on a decline, and I'm wondering what rock bottom is going to look like, and if people will even be able to wake up at the rock bottom stage. Because at rock bottom, that's the point where people acknowledge their problems and try to start working towards solving them. But when I look at America these days, I don't see anybody who is capable of solving any sort of problem or setting any sort of course towards fixing the problems in America as it relates to our economy, as it relates to business, as it relates to business models, and as it relates to leadership. Because that's one of the big problems in America, is that we don't have anybody talking about leading. We just have a bunch of people trying to manage, and managing is not helping the country get where it needs to be. Leading is going to set a course and a direction for the country so that everybody has a set of way of a direction to go in and where we want to go. And the sad part is we have the most technologically advanced, we're one of the most technologically advanced countries in the world, yet I see the country falling further and further behind, ironically, because of its overdependence on technology. And instead of us looking at it and saying there's something wrong here because we have all this technology, yet our people cannot even make a decision on a president or on with an informed choice with all this information on this information superhighway. We have people caught up in their emotions instead of looking at the facts and saying to themselves, that, again, that as I see it from the facts that are presented to me, neither one of these candidates are qualified to be president, and the American people themselves don't seem to be focused on what direction they want to go in. And that's one of the big problems I see with we the people, is that we the people can't set a course for where we want to go, what direction we want to go in. I believe a lot of we the people are a little bit too spoiled and entitled to even think about what direction they're going in. And that's why the country is in a state of decline, because a lot of people are just too comfortable to think about where they want to go in life, what direction they want to go in, and where they want to take the country over the next part of the 21st century. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.